Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day, everyone. My name is Nematullo Halimov, and today I will be presenting a comparative study on occupational health and safety, especially focusing on the high-rise construction sector. This presentation is part of my coursework for Human Resource Management 1 under the guidance of our lecturer, Mrs. Zainatul Afifa, SIEMM. We will be analyzing the critical incident in Indonesia between 2018 and 2020 and comparing our national framework with the highly successful system implemented in Singapore for 2016 and 2021. The goal is to understand how we can protect our most valuable asset, human resource. Well, to begin why we are focusing on construction, globally construction is known as one of the fatal four industries. When we talk about a high-rise project, the risks are magnified exponentially. We are not just dealing with the basic site hazards, we are dealing with extreme heights, unpredictable weather conditions, and operation of heavy machinery in dense urban areas. Currently, Indonesia is in the middle of a massive construction boom. However, the problem we face is that our safety protocols often lag behind this rapid pace of development. Our objective today is to bridge this gap by benchmarking against Singapore world-class standards. While here, let's look at the graph. Let's look at the data for Indonesia. As you can see from the graph, there is a worrying upward trend. Workplace accidents surged from approximately 175,000 in 2018 to over 265,000 in 2022. It is shocking to know that construction alone accounts for roughly 32% of all fatal work accidents in our country. We cannot forget the 2018 moratorium where the government had to halt all elevated projects after 14 major accidents occurred in a short period, including the infamous uh, Biseceu toll girder collapse. Since then, cranes collapses and falls from heights have continued to be a recurring theme in Jakarta's skyline. Well, why does this keep happening? We have identified four root causes. First is the high turnover. High-rise sites are constantly flooded with new untrained laborers who are not familiar with specific site risks. Second is the complaints with culture issue. Many firms focus on passing audits to keep their license rather than actual daily risk mitigation. Third is low safety culture, where workers often view PPE as a physical burden or a nuisance rather than a life-saving necessity. Finally, we have multi-layer subcontracting. Large contractors often pass work to smaller firms that simply don't have the budget or expertise to maintain high safety standards. Now let's look at our international benchmark. Singapore, they are considered the gold standard in OHS. It wasn't always this way. Singapore was accident prone in the 90s, but they transformed through the WSH 2028 strategy. This is a 10-year roadmap with a very specific ambitious goal to reach a fertility rate of less than 1 per 100,000 workers. And the key driver here is the Workplace Safety and Health Act, which ensure that accountability is not just on the safety officer, but starts at the very top with the CEO and board of directors. Well, one of the most innovative part of the Singapore system is design of safety, or DFS. Since 2016, this has been a mandatory requirement for any project over $100,000. Instead of trying to fix a hazard while the building is already going up, Architects and engineers are required to design out risks during the planning phase. For example, they design permanent built-in anchor points for windows cleaners before construction even starts. They fundamentally shift the burden of safety from the worker on the scaffolding to the designer at the desk. Okay, well, let's compare these two systems directly. Indonesia's philosophy is already reactive. We fix things after an accident happens. Like Singapore is proactive, preventing risk at the source. Regarding liability, in Indonesia, the blame often falls on the site managers. In Singapore, there are the very strict corporate liability sales can actually face jail time for systemic safety failure. While we still rely on manual site monitoring, Singapore utilizes AI sensors and BIM modeling. Lastly, while we often use daily untrained labor, every single worker on a Singaporean site must hold a mandatory competency certification. Okay, here, so why is the transition so hard for us? First is the cost over safety. Many companies still see safety gear as an extra cost that eats into profit. Second is the supervision gap. We simply don't have enough government inspector to monitor the thousands of projects currently active. And finally, there is the Indonesian habit, a culture tendency to prioritize speed and cost over everything else. We often hear the phrase, which is a dangerous mindset in a high construction, is the important thing is that it's finished. So here, based on our analysis, a purpose for strategic recommendations: one, we must adapt design for safety and mandate it in our blueprints before building permits are used are issued. Two, implement a demerit point system where companies with poor safety record are banned from lucrative government contracts. Three is utilize digital twins and BIM to simulate the construction process and spot hazards before they exist in the real world. And four is establish a unified enforcement task force that uses drones for announced high-tech inspectors. Finally, here's a conclusion. In conclusion, we must remember that OHS is not a cost, it is a critical investment in our people. As Indonesia continues to grow vertically, the protection of our workers must be the very foundation of that growth. By shifting from our current reactive culture to a proactive framework like Singapore's, we can protect lives and make our firms more competitive globally. Thank you very much for your attention, and this was my presentation for my final exam. Thank you very much.